There's an affordable way to get backup and off-grid solar, but most people get confused on how to do it. One of the easiest ways is to use the EcoFlow Delta Pro Ultra system because it makes all of the hard work easy, and you link it with their Smart Home Panel 2 or even their new Smart Home Panel 3. But the most confusing part for people is the solar. Rightly so, trying to figure all this out is very tricky, but I'm going to show you how we went from this concept design of laying out 27 solar panels on this steep roof and actually got it installed and has been making enough power to help them live off-grid and have plenty of backup power during winter storms, blackouts, and any natural disasters or high bills that come their way. It's a little bit easier said than done, so I'm going to go through the details on how to do it, so that way if you want to do something like this, you can figure that out. My name's Ben, this is the Minuteman Solar YouTube channel, and I've been doing solar for about 10 years. It's a true passion of mine. I've got an off-grid cabin, an off-grid house, an off-grid RV, and I absolutely love solar. The first thing you have to do is shimmy up on the roof in order to get your anchors, and that's only because this roof is really steep. If your roof is, say, maybe a 412 pitch or lower, it's probably not that big of a deal to not get an anchor, but because this is what seems like a 1012 or a 1212 pitch, which means it's really steep, we're gonna make sure we're anchored off. But unfortunately, our solar supplier missed a bunch of parts, so I'm on the road to go get those parts. And while I'm doing that, gone for hours, my guys are up on the roof, starting to get everything mapped out and the base plates for the racking installed. I was able to successfully get all the parts that I need and then start the next morning on getting this system done. The first thing is understanding how you're going to set up the mapping of the solar panels. Easiest thing is to use this roof chalk and mark out exactly where your panels are gonna go, or at least where your rails are gonna go. And to give you a full idea of what we're doing here, this is the estimated full system that we drew out. These are the 3 groups of 9 panels. This is where the rails are gonna go for those, and this is where we have to run wires from the first and last panel to our junction box. To get our spacing right, you need to make sure that the top edge of the panel is at least 18 inches from the peak of the roof. On either side of the panels, you need a minimum of 18 inches of roof to the one side and 36 inches on the other. So here you can see a general layout, and you may want to pause and look at these measurements, but you can see our top panel is 18 inches from the roof, and then 12 inches down from that is where our first rail is going to be. I like to leave about 12 inches of cantilever or overhang on the solar panels, both on the top and the bottom. So measuring that out, that means that I have 44 1/4 inches between the rails within each row. And then I replicate that all the way down through the different rows. You can be as close to the gutters as you want, but keep in mind if you're going to be covering more than 50% of the entire roof in solar panels, then you need to have 3 feet of space on the left, right, and top, but you can still go down to the bottom edge of the roof. I highly recommend, if the roof you're working on has decking under it, do these direct to deck base plates, because then you don't have to find trusses. Make sure that each roof washer is slightly compressed, but not overly compressed. We're laying out where each one of these go and screwing them into place, so that way we're ready for the rails. This is easiest to have someone down below and someone up top, and we're just getting the rails into place before actually bolting them in. In this case, I had to wait to get this base plate in because I needed to know exactly how it was going to line up with the solar panels, and you don't want more than 4 feet of spacing between your base plates. It's extremely tiring working on a roof like this. It's an incredible calf workout. It's gonna slide into there. But first, I'm gonna bring this to the very top and then tighten it, so that the top of the rail is level with the top of the base plate. The whole point of this being adjustable is if your roof has like peaks and valleys in it, you're able to get it exactly flat. So what we're gonna do here to get all of these rails square is we're gonna do the 3-4-5 square method. What I've done is I've taken a clamp and a string and clamped it on here, and it's just coming off the top of that rail. It's gonna go around, and you can see the little black mark right there. That's exactly 4 feet from this upper corner right there. And what I've got here is my 3-foot mark from the end of the rail. So I'm gonna come over 3 feet, that's our mark. We've measured down 4 feet, that's our mark. And now from here, that mark to that mark, which should be our hypotenuse of our triangle, should be exactly 5 feet. So I'm gonna spread my tape measure from here to there, and then that string, we're gonna get that black mark right at the 5-foot mark, And to do that, we're gonna go down to our bottom rail and we're gonna slide it left or right in order to get this string to move so it's perfectly square. Once we have that, we'll then reset that rail there so it's secure. And then this rail and that rail we'll put up straight to the string line, and that will give us a nice straight edge. So that way we know that that whole edge is square. We have to go one panel extra over here, so we'll be able to measure off of there to make sure we're not sticking out too far. So I'm fighting the wind here, but I'm gonna get that 60 right here on this mark. And then down here, I'm gonna touch the right side of the tip of the tape measure to the string. So we're off by like 3/4 of an inch down there where the string needs to come over just a hair. Now that all the rails are in, we have to make sure we get our grounding done. So for every other rail, we put a grounding clamp and run this 6-gauge bare copper wire onto each one. And then this wire goes into a junction box, and we will couple that or join it with a 10-gauge THHN wire. It's coming along, but we've had a lot of unfortunate setbacks. The splices were wrong from the supplier. Our tools are arriving like 5 days late, so we had to go buy a bunch of tools just to get us through. But regardless, it's all working out. It's just gonna take a little bit longer than anticipated, and that's just how it goes sometimes with these projects. So Silas is making up our junction box here. This is how we get the solar wires from the roof down into the attic. We have to drill out a bunch of holes for all of the wires, and then we use these NPT glands in order to bring the wires in and make it watertight. So we're just drilling out a hole for each one of the wires we're bringing in, plus a grounding wire, and then we slip in all these NPTs and it'll be ready to go on the roof. This is a junction box that we got from EZ Solar, and we're using it with this roof boot in order to get a watertight pass-through of the wiring from the roof to inside of the attic. Don't cheap out on the caulking. This is specifically designed as long-lasting roof caulking, and I'm making a very thick line of it here underneath this boot. So that way, once it's on here and screwed into place, there's zero chance of water ever getting inside of this. The rim of this is very flexible, and I like to overkill it with the screws because I just want to have no chance of there ever being water getting in. I simply push this 90-degree conduit piece that I've attached to this junction box in through the boot and into the hole and tighten it directly to the rail. This keeps a lot of the wires off the roof and a nice clean look and a good finish. The junction box that was on the roof, found it here in the insulation. Now we're just gonna do a pressure watertight fit on that and bring our flexible metal conduit off of it. So on the flexible metal conduit, we have a piece that threads into this tubing, and then it gives you normal threads. From here, we're going to add a coupling, threads on, and now this blue side is a rain tight connector for the conduit, and then the other side is threaded. So this is how I adapt from a smooth conduit pipe, because this is a pressure fit. So that's what I was talking about, the pressure rain tight fit. This threads in here. All we have to do is get this nice and tight, stick it up over the pipe, tighten this down, and then this collar that's inside here, this ring, clamps down and makes it a really tight, snug fit. After that, we'll unspool all of this and start running our wire inside of it. This conduit is running all the way down into a little tunnel down there, so we need to cut it to length. A bandsaw is one of the easiest ways to do it, but a reciprocating saw also works. So now we've got this fish tape coming out of the flexible metal conduit. We're going to attach our wire to it and pull it through. We use a little piece of metal, wrapped it around the end of the wire. Now we're going to tape this joint here so that way it can't back up on itself like so. One of the smartest things you can do is actually pay someone else to do the hard stuff that you don't want to do, and that's what I've done here. And he's climbing into this tiny access that allows us to get wires from the top floor attic down into the garage where this whole system is housed. We've got all of our wiring pulled out in the garage, but we need to make sure we add this coupling and now a 90-degree adapter in order to have a nice clean transition of the wires coming into the garage. That way we don't have a big droop in this flexible metal conduit, or FMC. Using these threaded connectors is really the secret to keeping a clean look with the FMC, and we try to keep this as tight as we can into the corner above the wall so that way we continue the clean look. Now we have our rain tight connection, which is compressed onto the pipe in the ceiling, coming all the way down. We've fastened it to the trusses. You need to include stickering every 10 feet to indicate what's inside the conduit. So it says there's solar inside of here, and then this stretches all the way down to the garage. Everything has to remain encapsulated, meaning inside of conduit and conduit boxes. So we're cutting this conduit here and exposing the wires in order to be able to get MC4 connectors on these wires and connected to the Delta Pro Ultras. But to be up to code, as part of a roof mount system, you have to have what's called a rapid shutdown system, which includes adding an external battery that firemen can then push and shut down the whole system. In this case, we had what seemed like 12 to 16 inches of wall to get through. It was actually quite difficult. And I'm pulling one set of wires, which will be the control for the switch, but as well my grounding wire all the way to this point, because that's what's going to connect to the ground rod. Inside of this Tygo box, we've basically made it a conduit box. We have our main solar coming in from the top, as well as our grounding. And then with our CTs for our rapid shutdown, we have them powered into the core 1. You want the black facing the solar panels and just the black wires going through it. You can have up to 10 of these wires in here. And then this is going to run to our button, and we're going to plug these into here. I'll show you how to do that in just a second. And then that will give us the ability to turn off the entire system from the rapid shutdown button outside. And then as well, we're going to run power to this using an Anderson power pole connector onto the Delta Pro Ultra, so that way it's always powered from DC. Silas is working on getting MC4 connectors installed, so that way these will plug directly into the Delta Pro Ultras. In order to be up to code, we have to have this rapid shutdown, so we're using DC optimizers on the roof to both boost the power production of the panels as well as control the rapid shutdown. So this means having 12 volt power going from the Delta Pro Ultra up to the red button switch. We only connect one of the wires to the actual switch, and the other wire is simply passing through the box to go to the green Tygo controller. That goes directly into the black ports on the top side of the controller. And then on the bottom side of the controller, we have this CT. A CT is this circle. It basically checks how much power is going through a wire. You can have up to 10 strings or 10 groups of solar panels going through this CT ring. And simply put, if the 12 volt power is lost to the green controller by having the red button pushed, then that sends a signal through the black wires that goes up to the solar panels to turn off the solar panels. This is a safety feature so that if there's ever a fire in the house, then the firemen can turn off the electricity, so that way they don't have to worry about electrical fire making the whole house fire any worse. Running the ground through this box makes life a little bit easier, because I can simply stick it right out of the bottom of this box, and then I'm converting back from 10 gauge back to 6 gauge, just so that I can get it grounded properly. Save your back, save time. If you don't have an SDS Max hammer drill, rent one. This is absolutely worth its weight in gold in terms of how to get a copper ground rod into the ground. Make sure that it's properly buried and that you can still have it checked for inspection, and then go ahead and connect your ground wire to it. And ironically, the main thing that we're doing here is the last thing that we're doing, and that's putting up the solar panels. The very first solar panel is what you have to get right, because all of the other solar panels will be squared off of that first panel. So make sure it's perfectly square with the rails and that you got your rails nice and straight. And then it's actually pretty straightforward. It's just lifting these heavy panels up onto the roof, putting a couple clamps onto each one of them. And don't forget that as you're putting the solar panels up, to connect them together. Now we can actually see that the lowest charged Delta Pro Ultra is getting the least amount of output, and the highest charge is outputting more. So this is keeping itself balanced, and that's because it's working with the smart home panel too. If we shut the whole system off using the rapid shutdown button, all of the solar input stops for all of the units. But then if we go ahead and twist this and turn it back on, then we see that the solar starts going back into each one of these. Keep in mind the AC output still continues working for these with the Smart Home Panel 3 because that is on the AC output side and not in conjunction with like a hybrid inverter. This was fully approved and inspected. It passed the inspection with no problem. And now they're able to run their critical loads very easily. And after we left, the client actually ended up buying 6 more batteries and expanded this so that it's possible for him to charge his plug-in hybrid and basically drive around completely for free on solar. Honestly, felt like I was climbing Mount Everest or something like that. It was so epic working on this steep roof. I would have never have done this without these harnesses. They came in handy so many times. If you're going to work on a steep roof, be safe, do this right, and you'll be able to enjoy the benefits of long-lasting solar, so that way you have great backup power or off-grid power. Using the EcoFlows makes life a lot easier, and you can go from something looking like this all the way to something looking like this. Beautiful, clean looking solar that keeps them up and running all the time, no matter the weather conditions or no matter how bad their bills get. For links and info on anything you saw in this video, they'll be in the description down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.